Hello everyone, this is Harry Movie. In this issue, I will introduce you to the crime film, Fargo, directed by the Coen brothers. Jerry was the sales manager of a car company. As the most common middle school class in the United States, he looked glamorous. In fact, he was the only one knowing how much debt he owed. To repay the money, Jerry looked at the parking lot project and wanted to reclaim wasteland to build a parking lot to reach the pinnacle of life. It was a pity that these ideas needed enough funds to get started. Jerry could only cast his eyes on his father-in-law Wade. Wade was a rich entrepreneur. He looked down on his vain son-in-law. So Jerry made insinuations several times with him, but still in vain. In desperation, Jerry could only take risks. He planned to kidnap his wife and blackmailed Wade. With the help of colleague Proudfoot, Jerry hired Carl and Gayer. The three went to the bar to discuss business as scheduled. Jerry provided a new car without a license plate as requested and asked the two to ask for a ransom of $80,000, which was divided into half afterward. Although they are a little curious about Jerry's brain circuit, the huge temptation of money made him agree to it. The next day, Jerry received a call from Wade. It turned out that he carefully evaluated the project and found that it was profitable. So he called to meet Jerry. Jerry burst with joy. He wondered if Wade promised to invest, he didn't have to kidnap his wife. He quickly found Proudfoot and asked him to notify Carl and Gayer to cancel the operation. But Proudfoot told Jerry that he would not be able to contact Gayer and Carl for a while. After hearing this, Jerry had to give up first and hurried to Wade's office. I thought it would be a good deal, but Wade only promised to give Jerry a little intermediary fee as a thank you for his suggestions. Wade didn't think Jerry could operate a parking lot. He wanted to monopolize the project to get the most profit. After writing a plan for a long time, it became someone else's project. Jerry began to feel resentful. At the same time, Carl and Gayer had sneaked into Jerry's house and kidnapped Jerry's wife easily. When Jerry came home, he found his wife missing and was distraught. He tried to calm himself down, thinking about how to tell Wade. At this time, the two who completed the kidnapping took advantage of the late night to drive away. They thought everything was going well, but they ran into the state police halfway through. The state police stopped the two and asked why they didn't have a license plate number. Carl wanted to pay a bribe to fool him, but the state police didn't get in, so they raised their flashlight and took photos in the car. Seeing Jerry's wife was about to be discovered, Gayer took the gun and shot the state police's head. While Carl was transferring the body, the car drove onwards and just saw everything. Gayer realized that the situation was not good, so he turned around and chased. Unexpectedly, the driver saw Gayer chasing him, so he stepped on the accelerator in a panic and soon overturned the car in the snow. Gayer effortlessly shot the two people in the car. The murder of three people quickly alarmed the police. In the early hours of the morning, Sheriff Maggie received an alarm. She came to the crime scene with her colleague. The tragic death scene and footprints in the snow made Maggie determine the criminal's physical characteristics and criminal process. Finally, Maggie checked the state police record book. The record book said it was a yellow-brown Shiraz. On the other side, Jerry pretended to meet Wade to figure out how to rescue his wife. But Wade resolutely wanted to report to the police. He thought the police might have a better idea. Jerry naturally disagreed. He tried hard to emphasize the recklessness of the kidnappers to protect his wife's life. He persuaded Wade to obey the kidnappers' request. Jerry made a good abacus. In his plan, the father-in-law wanted to provide a ransom of $1 million. Jerry only needed to give out $40,000 of it to the robbers. The remaining $960,000 was for his business development. This would save his wife and turn the big things into small things. And the police at the site were in big trouble. But Jerry hadn't known that this simple kidnapping and ransom case had already cost 3 lives. At this time, the police had suspected Carl and Gayer, who had committed countless crimes. And they investigated that these two people used to live in a small hotel. After learning the news, Maggie found the two young ladies that night. The lady told Maggie that the two men might have gone to the Twin Cities. The next day, Jerry got a call from Carl. Carl said the kidnapping forced him to bear the murder. This cost him too much and asked for all the $80,000 ransom. In the evening, Jerry and Wade had a meeting again to discuss the payment of the ransom. But $1 million was not a small number. The stingy Wade must personally meet the kidnapper with the ransom. Jerry panicked and quickly told Wade that he was the only designated person for the kidnapper to request the transaction. And Wade didn't listen to Jerry at all, and quickly decided on the ransom. At the same time, the police checked the hotel's call records and found that Carl and Gayer had called Jerry's colleague Proudfoot. Proudfoot had been in jail for drugs and was still on parole. The police thought he had a great possibility of committing a crime. Based on this clue, Maggie came to the Twin Cities and found Proudfoot. Proudfoot, facing Maggie's inquiry, insisted that he had not received a call that night. Maggie warned Proudfoot that 3 people had died on the road. Now that Proudfoot was on parole, if he did not voluntarily confess, the consequences would be serious. Jerry, who came to see Proudfoot, saw Maggie from the window and was even more worried about the incident. After interrogating Proudfoot, Maggie found Jerry again and asked if his company had lost the vehicle. Because the criminal was driving a brand new car with the company name. Jerry refused, saying that the number of cars was true and there was no loss. And Proudfoot couldn't sit still listening to Maggie's words. He had promised not to resort to violence, but Carl made trouble outside for no reason and hurt himself. Of course, Proudfoot couldn't tolerate it. He found Carl angrily and slapped him in the face. Carl, with a bruised nose and swollen face, was pressed into a hurry, just wanting to get rid of the hot potato in front of him. So he called Jerry again for the ransom and threatened Jerry that if Jerry didn't send the ransom to the designated location within half an hour, he would kill the hostage. Jerry relayed those words to Wade. Wade immediately found Carl with $1 million. Carl was even more annoyed when he saw that the person was not Jerry. And Wade said that if he couldn't meet his daughter, he would never pay. Carl, who was in the midst of the fire, shot Wade without saying anything. Wade fell to the ground and shot back. As a result, the bullet went through Carl's face, leaving only a deep blood mark. The pain caused Carl to lose his mind, and he shot and killed Wade madly. Then he hurried away carrying the box. Jerry, who came later, saw Wade's death. His eyes went black. He was afraid that the police would intervene to discover the truth, and hurriedly dealt with the body of Wade. Carl stopped at a quiet place and opened the box. He thought there were only $80,000 in the box, but it turned out to be $1 million. The huge ransom made Carl's desires expand. To monopolize the money, Carl first took out $80,000 of it to send his companion Gaia. Then he dug a hole in the snow to bury the box. To make it easier for him to recognize later, he put a bright red snow brush on the ground as a mark. And Maggie went to see Jerry again because of the car problem. Facing Maggie's step-by-step questioning, Jerry couldn't help it anymore. He lost his temper and drove off on the pretext of going to check the number of cars. As for Carl, after burying the box, he went straight back to the den. He gave Gaia the 40,000 yuan in his pocket, and prepared to divide the property evenly. Although he embezzled more money, Carl was obviously not satisfied. He asked to drive away from the new car on the condition of the wound on his face and left the broken truck to Gaia. Of course, Gaia disagreed and asked cars to be evenly divided. Carl cursed and turned angrily to go out. Unexpectedly, Gaia was also a werewolf carrying an axe and chasing out the door and slashing at Carl fiercely. Besides, Maggie got the news that the criminals were probably hiding in Elk Lake. So Maggie drove alone to investigate in Elk Lake and found the new car. The noise of sawing wood was endless. Maggie got out of the car curiously and went to find out secretly. It turned out that Gaia was using a sawmill to solve Carl's body. The crushed flesh dyed a large area of snow. The body of Jerry's wife was still in the black bag next to it. G took out his pistol and walked towards Gaia cautiously. She pointed to the micro badge on the hat to indicate that she was a policeman. But Gaia insists on resisting. After not running far in the snow, he was shot down by Maggie. Maggie successfully brought Gaia to justice. Subsequently, the police arrested Jerry, who had absconded in a small hotel in fear of crime, based on a report from the crowd. Jerry originally only hoped that Wade could invest for him, but he didn't expect so many lives involved in the kidnapping scene he had planned. The so-called gentleman loves money in a good way. The more the desire is, the less you get. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Don't be dazzled by selfishness at any time. Okay, this is the end of this issue. Friends who like it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, see you next time.